I want to tell you a little story about how ideas spread, specifically how ideas spread from human to human and across an organization. So let's start here. If you have an individual human with their own individualized filters and biases and context, they're going to look at something that they can get their hands on, like this thing over here that looks like some sort of snake or a string or a rope, and they're going to think, it's a rope. Or they might find this thing with a point here. This little thing with this sharp point might be a spear. Or this thing that feels like a big trunk might be like a tree. And if you've heard of the story of the blind man and the elephant, that's the point that it tries to teach us, that every individual with their own individual context will have a different image in their head. And it's important to understand that because you have to overcome that through communication, sustained communication, clarity of communication, so that perhaps they can get on the same proverbial page. If you can get them on the same page, the same blueprint, the same idea, the same shared context, then perhaps they can work together to construct the dream of the organization or that team. Now, the fact that I've even said what I've said so far, even showed you images, every individual audience member that hears my voice and saw what we just showed has an individual image in their own head. It is the very human nature of you have your own context, your own biases, your own history, your own filters, and you're going to basically hear what was said and still have a different image in your head. And that makes communication more challenging because it's really hard to get the exact same picture in people's heads. Now, this phenomenon was documented, or at least demonstrated from an experimentation using something called the Chinese whispers. And we actually played this with small children throughout in the U.S. You basically have them sit around in a circle, and you have one person whisper a story to the next person, whisper the story to the next person. You go all the way around the circle, and you'll notice that when it comes back to the main presenter, it is a different story. It is the very nature of humans to change and modify a story instead of repeating it in the same way. Now, our ultimate goal is to try to get everyone on the exact same shared brilliant idea, the same epiphany even, and really have it shared. And that is very challenging. So let's talk about that one person with an idea in a big organization. That one person will try to communicate with a few. And in some cases, they won't actually get that information out there. Not every light bulb will turn on. As a matter of fact, the people listening to this presentation right now won't actually have the light bulb turned on. You'll have questions, you'll have filters, you have biases. You're like, I don't understand what this guy is trying to tell me. So it is actually hard to sustain and communicate an idea. And you're going to, of course, hopefully have those people repeat the idea to more people throughout the organization. And you'll notice that not every light bulb is turned on, and that's actually okay. There's a set of communication lines that look like this organic spaghetti, if you will, throughout an organization. And that's still okay also because you have connected a few dots, and more importantly, you have critical mass to move the organization as a whole. And again, not everyone has to have the same idea, just enough people to help lead the others. And this is an important concept because every individual has their own individualized learning curve, their own time frame, their own basic understanding, and they will move to that learning journey at their own individual pace. And it's actually not required that everyone be on the exact same page, but enough people be on the same page and have a shared vision. Now, here's a challenge that we have in modern organizations, right? We have this concept of the org chart. We think of the person on the top and the people on the bottom. And the people on the bottom that are doing the work, we really hope they have that shared context. They have the shared idea. And I've spoken to a lot of audiences about things like cloud native or digital transformation or DevOps and lean and agile over the last multiple decades at this point. I've gone out and preached a lot of change to people. And almost always, one individual will come out of my audience and go, but Burr, you don't understand. We really want to adopt this new technology, new technique, this new idea, this new way of doing work. However, my boss won't let me. When I've gone to that boss and tried to explain the benefits of Agile and the change to the way we do things, they just reject it. And so one of the things I talked about is with those individuals, the way I answered is I will say, look, if you have the idea and shared understanding on your team, yes, I respect that the team manager may not understand, but I can almost guarantee you that the people at the bottom who have the shared idea that really matters, often the CEO also has the same vision and the same idea. Meaning, if you go to a big organization and say, hey, we need to fundamentally increase our productivity, and we think we can do that through agile methods because it obviously proves higher quality, greater throughput, in terms of what we deliver. The CEO will say, yes, I want that greater productivity. And I've also read the same books. I think Agile and Lean are great ways to go forward, and DevOps principles are what we want here. And often it's the people in the middle that will struggle. Seth Godin refers to these folks as the resistance, and they're not actively being nefarious. It's just that they got promoted to their level of station within the org chart because they're the keepers of institutional knowledge. They're the keepers of the old ways. That's what they know best. As a matter of fact, they may have been the best at the old way, and therefore any change feels disruptive. As a matter of fact, their goal is to minimize risk, not to actually increase risk by changing things. So that's why there's a bit of drag there with that middle, if you will, the middle managers between you and the CEO. You will eventually get enough light bulbs turned on that you can move the organization, but it does take sustained effort. Now, I want to give you one example I've used back in 2017 when I was out there talking about the concepts of DevOps and Agile to people. I gave one concrete example for my Java developers out there, my dev and ops people. All right, so as a developer, you got to realize you're in this silo. You have a team lead, a manager, a vice president of dev. There's another silo over there which is operations, VP of ops. They have manager, team lead kind of thing. And the developer has this random idea like, oh, you know what? We really should upgrade the code base for this application to the new Java virtual machine, the JRE for 1.8. There's a bunch of bug fixes that are important for us. And of course, Lambdas is a great feature. I really want to take advantage of the Lambdas feature that will really clean up a lot of my code. They tell that to their team lead. The team lead, being fairly technical still, knows exactly what they mean. Yeah, Java 1.8. I've been reading about that also. We need to get those bug fixes in there. The Lambdas are great. They tell their manager. The manager, of course, has, not programmed in Java before. They were the COBOL, champion of old. So they hear upgrade Java and something about Lambdas, and they tell their vice president. The vice president, of course, came from the business side of the house. They don't really know what Java even is other than a cup of coffee. And they've heard of those Lambdas before. That elven bread from Lord of the Rings. They probably heard of that. And so here's the problem. It's the Chinese whispers in effect again. The fact that you told a story, and they told a story, and they told a story means the story gets a little bit modified based on individual filters, biases, and the context that they have. Of course, that vice president goes out for a nice golf outing with the vice president of operations, and they talk over a nice golf game and a great lunch. They're like, upgrade Java, where they get the bugs and the Lambdas, and Lambda spread. Yeah, hobbits and all that stuff. Okay, great. And they tell the manager when they come back to the office, and the manager's like, what the hell, right? A Java upgrade? You know how much that sucks? And the Lambs thing? I don't remember the Lambs thing. And they tell the team lead, hey, those developers, they want to do this upgrade. And oh my God, what about those buggy sheep? I don't really understand. And the operator, of course, is down there going, I think I've heard that sheep bug. Yeah, it might be good to fix it. And the way you go around this is to simply not move up and down the hierarchy. As a matter of fact, you let people work together. This is one of those principles of DevOps. Let the people who actually have to do the work communicate directly and in a high bandwidth, high quality way, letting them ask questions where the operator go, why? Java 8's no longer even supported. And the developer can go, oh yeah, you're right. We probably should move to Java 17 or something higher at this point. And the operator can go, you know what? Let's talk about a Linux container because I'm worried about blast radius. If on that machine, that same piece of hardware, we might have different applications at different versions of Java, as an example. And that's a great idea. Isolation for that JVM is a great idea. What about 12-factor principles? But they can have a high bandwidth conversation and really work out the details so that communication flows faster and they actually get to a better result and a better outcome vastly faster. Again, going back to this principle here, you're going to work organically throughout the org chart. And that's an important thing to understand, right? We're going to try to solve this main problem, which is people having different images in their head. And we're going to get to the point where we have a shared understanding. That is my quick little story on how ideas spread and how to think about it. And I'm hoping it's helpful to you. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me and let me know.